Welcome to Pivoting to Web3 podcast, where experts break down AI, blockchain, and tech shaping our future. I'm Donna, and today's guest has insights you won't want to miss. Let's dive in. Okay, so let me ask you this. I'm really curious because when I saw Delish looked delicious no matter what I looked at. And it has such a luxurious feel to it. The pictures, the quality, the food, the selections. How did you know to go into the luxurious space? What attracted you to that? Or what was happening in the marketplace that you knew that was the path to go into?
I think that happens on its own. I can't say that I said it has to be luxurious. If anything, I think a lot of times in the beginning, we end up spending so much on on our overhead
Mm-hmm.
as far as like material and sourcing that we forget. And I think that's how it happened because first of all, when I mentioned the table that my parents created, my mother was always into creating the aesthetics. Even regardless of our economic situation, she would always find beauty in objects. So the table was always beautifully set, and that I think stayed with me. Now, in Italy, where we source a lot of our products, they are made by artisans. So the artisans are by default, it's going to be a little bit more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not something that you make in China and you can mass produce, which nothing against that. You can mass produce and then put it in a box and you're okay and keep the cost low. So we did start to have our prices go up. And because the food items that are in there, they're produced also by mom and pops. Like you, I mean, I think Italy has 14,000 producers, micro producers
Mm-hmm.
of food products. So they have small numbers, and that's I think our competitive advantage as well. And they also the price tends to be maybe a little bit more than average, but I think now in the United States it's almost below average. So little by little, I think I fell into the luxury world. And at first, I was afraid of it, but then I learned to embrace it and said, you know what? We're not for everyone, and that's totally okay. But for those people that value what we value, here we are.
I think this is awesome because I got to say it. When I looked at it and when I've seen it, it always impressed me. Now, I have an eye for quality. I like comfort and convenience, and quality is part of the comfort. So therefore, when I look at Delish, it always stood out no matter what the angle, what the food, what the content. So you're absolutely right. The artisans do a fabulous job. The layouts are awesome. And the presentation, I had just never seen anything like that before. So when you came into the Web3 space on the NFT side, how are you using the NFTs and why did you see that as a benefit for Delish?
So it was about 2 years ago, and I fell in love with this world because as an entrepreneur, as someone that was in finance, you always stay in this box where you say, okay, I have to follow what it says in the book. There's a
Mhm.
step by step in order for you to grow or to develop something. And this world of NFTs gave me this, I think, glimpse into my own creative expression. So I said, you know what? Why don't I just have fun with it? And it became a way for me to say, let me offer these these really advanced, forward-thinking companies or people the opportunity to gift in a different way. So if they're already involved with NFTs, we created NFTs with a, a link of our products. So they would open this NFT, and inside there was this link where they could come and get 20% off whatever there was on our shop on
Hmm.
our site. So it became this kind of you own the NFT and you also get this opportunity to go and have this discount or this added, let's say, advantage. And I have to say, I think either we were too ahead of our time or I didn't do enough for the marketing side or getting it out there. The NFTs are still there on the platform. It seems like the world shifted and we all went towards AI, as well as me, because I said, okay, this is another beautiful
Hmm.
frontier where there's no competition really, and you can go in there and just have fun. And so I think I still do believe in the NFTs. I still am hopeful that we're all going to start to embrace them in a different way. I do still think that it's a wonderful way to revolutionize gifting and a great way to see art as we're living in this digital world.
Well, we're going to talk about the NFTs a little bit more probably another time, but we're going to talk about it a little bit now because I'm hoping you stay with it. I think personally, when I met NFTs, I think what happened, people approached it like regular marketing, and NFTs aren't like regular marketing. And that's why it kind of shifted and went by the wayside. And a lot of people made a lot of money kind of quick, and the NFTs looked kind of funny, and the people that didn't understand it. So there was a lot of confusion. But I personally think if you utilize the NFTs in a manner with the utility and with some loyalty, with some different other components and dynamics, the NFT really hasn't gone away. It's just kind of sleeping for a while, let's say, because I think everyone that was corporate or entrepreneurial or branding thought of an NFT like they did everything else in traditional marketing. And an NFT is a little bit different
I
to
love
me.
that you said that. I love that you said that because, first of all, I would love to ask you what that means, a little bit different, as far as the marketing aspect goes, because I totally agree with you that I went the traditional route and it's not the traditional route.
No. The NFTs, in my mind, not to take this into an NFT direction because I have so many other questions in another direction, but I'm glad that you still have them. I think there's a benefit to the NFTs once there's utility and loyalty. And then with utility and loyalty, I think the sky's the limit. And with the art and artisans, oh, that is a natural recipe for success. So we're parking lot that for now.
Yeah.
I don't want to take my audiences down a road, nor do I want to give too much away in this episode. We'll keep that for another time, and maybe everyone will tune in for another episode when we have something to say about these NFTs that you have that you're not too sure what you're going to do within the future. You just know they have a place at Delish, and they're still at Delish. So I'm excited. I'm just really excited about this and having you. But I'm curious to know, you mentioned AI. And with AI, how do you see that impacting creatives and your business? Because you have a consultancy called Blue Apples. And Blue Apples, is that all part of Delish? Or tell us how that interconnects, or if it doesn't, or just I want to make sure that we mention them both and not run out of time.
No, Blue Apples is actually an agency, AI agency that because I was using AI myself for Delish, like most entrepreneurs out there, where you're trying to bootstrap it as much as you can. And so about 2.5 years ago, when ChatGPT was there, I started to play with it and realized that I could do a lot. And fast forward, with some friends, we started the agency to help other entrepreneurs use AI in a way that you don't become just another content out there or just another brand out there. Because the biggest pitfall with AI is generic. We
Mhm.
all run the risk of becoming so generic. And you can tell already when people send you an email or they send you a message or you read a blog, a newsletter, LinkedIn caption, you always know from the very first sentence if it's AI generated. And that's fine. It's wonderful to use it for content, for everything that you want to use it for. I do. But don't forget, there is that human side that you need to know exactly who you are, what you're all about, what's your story, your brand voice, in order for you to be able to communicate so you don't become one of those generic brands that people out there say, oh my God, I've read this, I've heard this, I'm not interested. I skim through it. Because last year, the number was 4 billion content was created.
Mm.
This year, because everybody now is sitting in front of ChatGPT or whatever LLM they want to use, it's projected to be anywhere between 8 to 10 billion.
Oh, wow.
So you have to know that if you are not standing out in some way, you run the risk of just getting lost. And I baited that on myself in the sense that last March, my apparently something happened in my website because I was like, I don't need my SEO person. I don't need this. I don't need that. I did this to myself. I had an audit done of my website because Christmas was flat. And so I wanted to know what was going on. And apparently, the content has been so poor that it hasn't been ranking. And so you understand that if you are not doing the work, we all think it's going to be easy. And it can be, but remember, you have to have your why. You have to know who is your target audience.
Hmm.
How are you going to communicate to them? What is it that you're going to add that's going to differentiate you from the same competitor that's sitting in front of the same ChatGPT saying, write me a blog about the top 10 corporate gifts? Okay, they're doing the same thing, using the same keywords because all of a sudden you think you're an expert and generating this blog. You probably skim through it and say, ah, it works. And you put it on your platform. And Google says, you know what? I have thousands and thousands of them, like blogs like that. Forget about it. I'm going to now start to crawl and look for the ones that are going to be different and answer actually the pain points of the target audience. And so that's how Blue Apples was born.
So Blue Apple sounds like a boutique consultancy in a way, where you tailor to the brand and the entrepreneur and the corporation, your client. So when doing so, what advice would you give anyone that's listening that's new? How do they know what to use? You knew to use certain tools. And right now, there's people coming on board. There's people using AI, but there's so many that don't know what to use when. How did you choose? How did you figure it out? What was it that made you realize that you wanted to use these tools? And what was it? Maybe I asked this in other episodes. And what is it that you have seen or learned that makes you nervous? That's two questions in one.
Yes. So the first one is curiosity.
Hmm.
So I reached a point in my life where I said, okay, I've done enough of the suffering of this world of work hard, do this, do that. Now I just want to have fun. I'm at an age where I'm tired. Menopause has kicked in. Everything is just, and you just say, you know what? I have nothing else to lose.
Girl, you ain't tired yet. You got another 20 years. Go ahead.
Yes,
Keep
your
it
audience
moving.
should know, your listeners should know that we already discussed our ages. We're not going to discuss
Yeah, we're not
it
going to tell you out loud. Well, they kind of know I've been hanging around here a long time.
again.
Oh, go ahead.
So that's what ended up happening. So I said, okay, everybody's using ChatGPT. Let me sit down and it was just the beginning. And so I said, okay, let me play with it, just asking random questions. And then it became almost like a co-founder, a partner, a friend,
Hmm.
a therapist, a business coach today.
Hmm.
But because you only learn, and that's at least how I learn. I'm not one of those book learners. I'm one of those that has to do it and learn by trial and error. And so I did. I played with it. I realized what worked. I realized what didn't work. The same thing I did with NFTs. I just keep playing with it.
Hmm.
But because at this point in my life, I say, what's going to happen if it doesn't work out? It doesn't matter anymore. Maybe we say that's a luxury. I don't necessarily think so because I still have to reach my numbers. I still have to deliver. But it's still that point where you can say, it's okay. Just give yourself a break and have fun. And that's how I explore. I listen, I know there's so much on social media, especially Instagram, that says, oh, these are the top 10 AI platforms that will make you money in 20 days.
Hmm.
There's no such thing. Don't do it. It's absolutely not true. There's always some kind of a caveat in there where you have to then say, oh, no, there's no such thing. There's no AI free platform. There's a 7-day trial or a 2-week trial. So it's those. And then I narrowed it down for myself with the platforms that I like to work with and we recommend to our clients when they come to us because
Hmm.
you don't want to be overwhelmed. And that's what's happening today because everybody is out there in this race, desperately trying to earn their first millions, thinking that that's done. I feel so much gratitude for the fact that I am an older generation where I had to actually work. I actually had to learn and then come and apply it and learn from it and try. And there was no easy fixes. I had to
Hmm.
go to the library and do the indexing and find the book and the reference book and encyclopedias. So that is what I say the human touch is, where you're bridging the traditional way of doing business or living life into this new innovative world of abstract that no one, if anyone says I'm an AI expert, aside from the ones that in the 50s started to play with it, they're all lying because we're all on this road and there's no expert. And so I find it fascinating. And that's how I learn how to hone it all down, narrow it down to uh, what it works best for me and what I think works best for most entrepreneurs, at least small to medium-sized businesses.
Thank you. So, with the human element, when you look at the different corporations and culture or the different geographic cultures, as you've traveled or as you've, created and procured the artisans and how they present and deliver and execute, what do you feel is the most common thread that you see in all cultures? And have you had to really differentiate with dependence on the corporate culture or the geographic culture?
Actually, that's a really great question. I don't think uh, you need to differentiate. I think what you need to do is understand. So the most important thing is everybody has, and again, we go back to your brand story, your why. Even the big multi, like Apple, for example, let's say the biggest company that we have now as far as
Mhm.
capital, uh, they have their story. Their brand story is very powerful, isn't it? With Steve Jobs and how he created Apple, the up, the down, everything that happened that led to then the company brand story. So then we say Apple has a culture, right? But that culture has to come from somewhere. Culture isn't or just spontaneously created.
Right.
So
Hmm.
we go back to that brand story and the importance of it because you have to understand what is your vision, what is your values. And anybody that starts out, whether you're a corporation as a CEO, you're doing this, or you're a founder of a small business, you have the reason why you are where you are and doing what you're doing. And once you know that clearly, then you can create that corporate culture and then you can lead and then you can delegate and then you can say, this is what I want you to do. This is what we need. This is how we're going to grow more, because growing also comes with it a lot of weight. So this is how we're going to grow in a way that our roots are so deep that if a wind comes, we're not going to get blown over. So I think it's that kind of a way of looking at things. So when we speak to clients and wherever they're from, whatever their background is, the size of their business, it's most important to understand whoever our reference point is. What is it? Because a lot of companies say we have a culture, but where did that culture come from? And I think that's what's most
Mm.
important. And it also helps because we do a lot of workshops where we go in and we teach them, uh, the people and companies, how to use AI. And there you come in contact with their culture, with at least the approach the company has. And then you say, you know what? Let's understand it better, because then you want to be able to prompt the AI in order for you to get the responses that you're looking for. So it's like a recipe, I always say. A recipe of pastries, not even of a pasta dish. It's a pastry recipe that involves science and exact measurements.
So on occasion, because you walked right into it, and I'm going to try and get a couple of little tidbits. On occasion, on quite a few episodes, the guests will mention some of their favorite tools or what they like to utilize and why, and maybe some things that they prefer to stay away from. Do you have any favorite tools that you like to share with AI, or a couple of platforms that you really prefer as you uh, execute your lovely, lovely gifts to corporate and to the world?
Yes, absolutely. We ChatGPT. I call him my boyfriend.
Hmm.
And he there it's wonderful for ideation, for strategy, for content creation, for so many different things it's wonderful for. And we all heard the news last week where they're launching their first AI agent with three different tiers of payments, and they're quite expensive. But ChatGPT, I still think it's one of the best ones out there.
I
For
agree.
video creation is Runway. I like Runway. I think it works, especially if you subscribe. All of these I recommend subscribing to. They're not expensive. It's an investment. I like it for video creation. I like Opus Clip for multi-purposing. So when you create the video, like right now, the Zoom, you can upload it onto Opus Clip and it will give you a few different um, bits of this
Hmm.
that AI helps generate, in the sense that says what's the best part for you to put on Instagram, or what's the best for LinkedIn, about a minute long or 30 seconds or 10 minutes, whatever you want on YouTube. And I also like Canva. Funny enough, I used to use
Hmm.
Journey for creating images, which I still do, but Canva's image AI generated images, I think, is one of the best that's out there right now.
I love Canva as well. But I also just recently met Runway, and that was through a episode, previous episode. I think that was episode 60. I never heard of Runway, but there's quite a bit of tools and enhancements, and just I was amazed. That was a whole new platform for me. And at the end of the day, I really just believe in finding a few that works for you and gives you what you need. And remember that AI is an enhancer, and it does more than just create based on a prompt. If you can think it, it will help you dream it and bring it to life. But you have to think it. I don't want people to really feel that it's going to take the place of you. I prefer to look at it, it's an enhancement of you, of who you are and the direction you're going. So I'm curious about personalization just a little bit more. For those people with businesses, and the personalization that you use with your clients and your companies, is there anything that you can share in regards to all the data that people are talking about today? Do you um, protect your data in a certain way, or use certain programs to help you personalize your gifts, your corporate gifts? How does your data come into play? How are you playing in that sandbox when it comes to data and AI? If you can answer that question.
Um, the data has, as far as like doing analysis, we basically have platforms that are connected to Delish because it's a Shopify. So,
Mm-hmm.
and Shopify already provides that as far as how
Oh,
our
okay.
sales are doing, our marketing is doing. So that's ready available. As far as data gathering in the sense to understand like emails, collecting emails or any of that, um, we store it like with MailChimp or I mean, it's not most platforms right now offer the data. We don't store any data. We just refer as far as Blue Apples goes, in the sense that we don't have like a cloud where we need to keep people's information. We come and we help you and we provide it like we did on any platform even before AI. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, it does. It does. Because some people use data differently. And with the product that you have and your position in the marketplace, the reason I ask that question is because once you start going into the personalization direction and the storytelling, it seems like in personalization, I'm finding there's a lot of data being stored, used, analyzed, and predicted. And it helps in the buying decisions, the fulfillment and the personalization, depending on, your product and what you're doing and how you're doing it and where you're doing it at in the place and space. So I was really curious, especially being in the luxurious market and delish, um, if the data was being used or assessed or analyzed any differently, or how it was being looked at, if at all, at this point, more than normal, let's say. But being with Spotify, they've got so much data,
Sure.
analytics.
Yeah, Shopify does have data analytics, but uh, I understand now what you're saying. It's not that I think we still do it organically in the sense that we like that human touch, that human connection at Delish. So
Let me ask you one last question. What haven't I asked that you want to share?
one thing that I'm very proud of is the fact that we at Blue Apples, in order for us to be able to understand or help people understand better themselves, we use the Jungian archetypes in order to tap into how you can use AI to see exactly as a 360 your characteristics and which archetype you bring out in which situations and how you can either nurture one to help it uh, become stronger or how you can downplay one or in a way so that both in your personal and professional life you bring these archetypes in a harmony where they are essentially one, which is that you. And so this is something that I'm very proud of, and it's one of the guides that's available on our website um, under the resources. And I highly recommend it because I did the beta again, and I love to do
Hmm.
betas on myself before I put it out there
Hmm.
on myself last year in 2024. And it was so powerful. And I am a part of this female entrepreneurial coaching group, mentors. And she had asked me to do it every month. And I did. And the result was so powerful that this year we put out a guide. So I think that's something very interesting. And it helps you understand better your why. And therefore, using these prompts, you understand how, like you were saying, AI is there to amplify and to make you feel more empowered, to make you feel like you can conquer anything. So I think it's a useful tool.
I love AI. I know there's the good, the bad, and the ugly. But I really believe there's more good and more benefits, just like Web3. You asked me earlier when we first started, how did I come into Web3 or why? I think the main benefit that triggered me beyond that I saw it as a big shift, like when Intel came into the market, um, I really ended up seeing everything differently when I learned it can give somebody identity. I
Um,
had never really thought about the fact that there are populations and underprivileged, populations that don't even have an identity to do the banking or to make the transaction or to have an ecosystem. So
Beautiful.
that became very, very important to me. And that's how I really kind of jumped into this Web3 space. I think those were the two whys for me, wanting to educate on what's going to happen and wanting to understand why certain things weren't happening. If that makes some sense. How can somebody reach you? How do we reach you?
For our gifting, they can visit dlish.us and Blue Apples, that's apples with an S, dot AI. They can come and schedule a call, a discovery call, and get to know us and see what we have, the resources that we have. And me personally, you can find me on LinkedIn.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being on Pivoting to Web3 podcast. I've just had a good time getting to know you and talk to you. Thank you so much for your time and consideration. And I'm really going to be checking out Blue Apples.
Thank you very much, Donna. It was wonderful meeting you. Really, you're someone I hope to be down the line.
Thank you so much. Very kind of you to say. Thank you. And thank you all for listening to Pivoting to Web3 podcast. We have a good day, good evening, and a good morning. And we're shaping tomorrow together. Thanks for tuning in to Pivoting to Web3 podcast. If you're a developer, innovator, or AI expert with insights to share, or if you're looking to partner, let's connect. Visit MitchellUniversalNetwork.com and be part of the conversation. Want more content? Check out my playlist for more episodes. See you next time.